Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Wisdom and Wealth. Man, I'm here with Johnny Quinn, amazing guy that I'm excited to have on. Has a beautiful family, a guy who played in the NFL, played here at University of North Texas, and a keynote speaking full time right now, USA bobsledder. I'm like, this guy's got a rap sheet of awesome in his life. And so, big in his faith. And so, a guy that, if you haven't noticed a theme up to this point, like if I have any athletes on, I like people that are doing something with their lives. And I'm just super excited to have him on. So, Johnny, thank you.
Corey, man, I'm pumped. Yeah, seriously, I've known you for years now, and we've crossed paths in different verticals. We've had mutual friends, and man, I'm tickled to be on here with you. It's gonna be awesome.
Heck yeah. It's great. Well, it's what's wild about it too is our path has crossed not just from playing days. So like, obviously like we have a lot of times we get invited to these NFL union events or whatever. But like our paths cross differently too. Cause one of my mentors in the business probably is really my main mentor in the business, Aaron Botsford. You grew up with her son.
That's
You guys went to high school or something together.
High school, and we had birthday parties together. Yeah, we did like scavenger hunts in elementary school because his birthday was on November 4th, mine was on November 6th. So we merged a birthday on November 5th. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So I know Aaron and the family very well.
I just thought it was crazy. She
Yeah.
brought it up on a call. She goes, "Do you know Johnny Quinn?" I'm like, "I know Johnny.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Too funny.
How do you know Johnny?"
Yeah.
So it's just really cool. Tell me. So you played ball here in UNT.
Yep.
Are you from Texas originally, or what was? Give me some background.
Yeah, so born in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Family moved to Texas when I was 6. So I'm Texan. Grew up in Texas. Yeah, I McKinney ISD, went through the whole McKinney ISD school system, graduated McKinney High. And then when I was coming out of high school, Corey, I was a little confused because I wanted to go to the NFL. That was my big goal dream. Right? Young kid, you watch college football on Saturday, watch NFL on Sunday. I want to do this. And I want to get to the NFL. I realized the first step was college. And so my senior year of high school, I led the entire state of Texas at the 5A level, which was the highest classification at the time, in receptions. I finished second in touchdowns. And as a family, we were told, if you produce, you get rewarded, right? And so first team all-state, lead the state of Texas in receptions. I had one scholarship trickle in 2 days before signing day. And so at 18 years old, I'm confused because if I had 9 catches for 100 yards through a season, didn't have the production, didn't have the stats. Corey, I had all the production. I had all the awards. And so looking back now, that was a very important lesson for me, is that it made me understand that it doesn't matter how much success that you have or what awards you take home, is that you have to stay focused on the goal in front of you. And so at 18 years old, I had a first one Division I offer come in to the University of North Texas. And so as a family, we couldn't turn that down.
Let's go, baby.
And so, yeah, Mean Green. I really wanted to walk on to Texas Tech. Wes Welker was just graduating at the time. I kind of fit the mold on what Texas Tech was looking for. Mike Leach, Sonny Dykes, who was the offensive coordinator at the time, they came to my house in McKinney, recruited me, took an official visit up there. And they ultimately offered a preferred walk-on spot. And Corey, I was going to take it until North Texas came in with a full ride. And then, at 18, my parents had to sit me down and look at the financial impact of a full scholarship. And so looking back now is the best thing that happened to me for North Texas to come in and give an undersized wide receiver from McKinney a chance.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because the world now is different, right? With
It is.
The portal, the
Yep.
transfer portal, and
Yeah.
Guys can jump anytime they want, basically, or any year.
Yeah, that's interesting. As an athlete, I think about being able to get compensated. As an athlete, I would have loved that, knowing what I know now. I think of a program like North Texas, and we're just watching kind of the NIL unfold. Corey, some of our top guys who do very well, they get poached from another school.
Yeah.
They got a better NIL deal, they got a better opportunity, and I don't blame them. They've got to go.
Right.
But as I think more through this, what you miss out on is this ability to develop and build resilience. Yeah. Because now with the transfer portal and all that, you're out, right? You get benched, like, "Coach, I'm out. I'm going somewhere else. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing to navigate. Yeah.
It'll be. I've told people this. Some people think they're like money in college, like it's over as we know it, and I'm like, I don't think so. I'm
Right.
gonna go. It'll be bad before it gets good.
Yeah. Yeah. People are trying to figure it out. And the student athletes are, I think about the athletes when I was going through this, Corey, to be able to capitalize and generate revenue from age 18 to 22 while you're on scholarship. And a lot of student athletes don't have a chance to go pro. What an incredible opportunity to get out of the gate.
Yeah.
And, when you think about training up our next generation, if we get a young student athlete operating in wisdom, let's get them a head start. Let's go. Right. So I think, yeah, trying to figure out what the NIL looks like. And it's not the end of college athletics. It's something that people are going to have to navigate, but it's going to take wisdom and discernment.
Yeah. It's just new.
Yeah.
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 But you're right. You need some wisdom in there for those guys.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, tell me. All right. So North Texas.
Yep.
Wanted to play in the league.
Yep.
And then, all right, what happened in the league? What was going on there?
So things went well at North Texas. 4-year starter, broke all the records there. Did the whole agent deal. Had 8 agents fly to Dallas. They put on their best show. Hey, Johnny, we think you're a day 2 guy. They pulled they pulled your you know what that is, right? It wasn't day 1, but at the time there were only 2 days. So 4th through 7th round. Somebody's going to get you there. And as a family, when you go in a relationship with someone, sport, business, doesn't matter. You've got to make sure there's some character traits that you're on board with. And so when we were interviewing agents, it's almost like you're going to be an extended part of the family. You're getting interviewed as well. They want to recruit me. I'm trying to interview them. But one of the things that really stuck out, Corey, is this one agent showed up at my house and he pulled all the data from the last 9 NFL drafts. And I said, okay. And he presented it to us. And he said, Johnny, in the last 9 years, 28 to 32 wide receivers have been getting drafted. That's kind of the amount of receivers who are getting drafted last 9 years. They fall somewhere in 28 to 32 wide receivers. Yeah. He goes, Johnny, here's why we're excited about you. You were in the top 10 in NCAA Division I in career receptions, career yards, career touchdowns. And so as a young family, right, I'm 22 years old. I'm the oldest of 2. This is my first time for a family to go through this NFL process, finding an agent. We appreciated him breaking it down. And it helped us understand that, wait a second, my production in college statistically shows I'm in the top 10 in production. And so we're kind of wait, if the last 9 years of NFL draft showed 28 to 32 guys were getting drafted, well, come on, my production shows statistically I'm in the top 10. So we're thinking, okay, day 2. I mean, this is realistic.
Yeah.
And when the NFL draft came, 35 wide receivers were drafted, and I was not one of them. And so here we are again, 4 years later. Well, I registered 5 years later. I have the production numbers that everybody looks for. Yards, catches, touchdowns. Nothing comes in. And then draft-wise. And then shortly after the draft, we had a few free agent contracts come in. And so I signed my first NFL contract as an undrafted free agent with the Buffalo Bills in 2007. Our first-round draft pick that year was Marshawn Lynch. Remember him?
Yeah.
Before his Seattle run.
Yeah.
He was originally drafted by the Buffalo Bills first round.
I know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It cracks me up because you see some of these guys go, and Marshawn is a great guy, right? But some of these top round picks that go, you're just like almost baffles you.
Right.
All that does is remind me of all these executives in those offices. They're all people too.
Yep.
They're making gambles. They're making gut choices. They're doing what they think, or their impulse or emotional.
Right.
And what's funny is you reminded me of when you're in your production. So you produced and didn't get it. But it reminded me of Bruce Mays was our special teams coach, one of our special teams coaches with the Cowboys. This guy was amazing. And if you don't know his story, he had cancer, found out he had it during the season. They made a Super Bowl run. I think it was with Buffalo. I can't remember exactly, but he made a Super Bowl run, lost in the Super Bowl, but didn't want to talk about it till after. Amazing, amazing story. He's since passed, but one of my favorite lines from him was in Field Goal Block. When you tell the edge rusher, he goes, I can't guarantee if you're going to get it if you go hard, but I can guarantee you won't if you don't.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm
I
like,
heard something similar.
dude,
Yep.
that's stuck with me.
Yeah.
But we're like, all right, you're not getting it even though you're producing, but it's just a matter of time.
Right, and I think
Right.
that is, and I saw that at North Texas. So I lead the state of Texas in receptions. I get to North Texas. I'm thinking, okay, we got to do this the hard way. You commit to the weight room. You understand the playbook. You're staying after. You're catching on the jugs machine as a wide receiver, and then I became a 4-year starter. So what happened is, and I think I've heard you say this before, is as you get going, you start kind of speaking your resume to yourself, like, hey, I've been through this before.
Yeah.
Here's the reward if you work hard and stay consistent. And so I just thought it's going to be the same thing in the NFL. Got to do it the hard way, undrafted free agent. There's guys who make teams, right? I mean, you know the drill. And so, fine. I had an opportunity, and that's what I wanted, and that's what I got. It just, it did not go the way I anticipated.
Okay, so, all right, so now you're in this place.
Yes.
Right? So coming out of that, like kind of a lot of guys do, what the heck do I do now?
Right.
Where you at? How did you come to the speaking
Yeah.
deal? Like, how did that even show up out of this whole thing?
Right. So the first time I got cut from the Bills, that was the first time, and that was probably the hardest discussion I've ever had in my, let's call it business career, because it's a business decision in the NFL by that point, because that's the first time somebody said I wasn't good at football. Contract gone, job gone, opportunity gone, right? I mean, and I'm like, well, how do you handle this?
Yeah.
And so it was at that point I became an avid reader. Because here's what I needed to know, Corey. I needed to know, are there men and women who are further down the road of life? Now think about it. I'm a 22-year-old young man, okay? Like, still got some frontal lobe in my brain that still needs to develop here. I'm thinking this is the end of the world.
Yeah.
So I became an avid reader because I needed to know, are there men and women who are further down the road of life than I am? Have they had failure? And were they able to overcome it? And the more I read, Corey, the more I started to realize is that as much as we don't like failure, it is part of the process. Yeah. And so it got me excited. I'm like, oh, wait a second, I can come back from this. Oh, wait a second, this actually isn't the end of the world. And then Green Bay comes the following year. I get picked up by the Packers. Favre just retired the first time. Yeah. Aaron's taken over. Yeah. Yeah. Aaron's taken over as a starter, and so he's thrown me the ball in practice. Aaron and I kind of hit it off. We had similar interests in college, and so we played a lot of Halo together. And so, like, you know, I'm hanging out with Stark with this is pre-Super Bowl Aaron. It's like he's taking over for Brett, and so things are going well. Get selected as offseason performer of the week into the preseason. So I'm like, okay, I'm moving in the right direction, and then I get cut again. And I go to the CFL, blow my knee out, and so by the time I was 26, I was cut three times, lost $2.6 million in NFL contracts, and blew out my knee. And it was at that point, Corey, I realized, and this was so hard for me to realize, is that football was over. The door has been closed. There's no more, we're going to push through. It's done. And I think as men, sometimes that is hard to realize when a door is truly closed, right? There was no more opportunity. And so that was a critical moment where I could either use that as a crutch and just limp around life. Woe is me. I can't believe Green Bay I was doing so well. They kept the 7th round guy. You know, I got cut because I was the undrafted guy. What story am I going to tell myself? And here's what I realized. I realized that I had an opportunity and I didn't make enough plays. That's on me. Yeah. I should have made more plays. Right. And so then this started, some things, unique things started to happen. My mom worked with a coworker who was a bobsledder back in the day. My agent represented a bobsledder back in the day. And because you can't go to college to be a bobsledder, there's no NCAA level bobsledding, right? They have to recruit from football and track and field. And, you know, I'm 26, I'm in great shape. very explosive. I mean, football guys kind of fit the mold on exactly what Team USA bobsled's looking for. So I kind of had the right build for bobsled, and so there was an opportunity. I saw it, and I took it.
So, I mean, you had to go do trials and
Yeah, so very interesting on that. What I do is I'm training at the Michael Johnson Performance Center. You remember that facility in McKinney, right? And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build film to show NFL teams or CFL teams that I'm actually healthy. So I'm sprinting, I'm doing cuts or whatever, right? So now yeah. And so we're sending it out, and I'm like, well, wait a second, the bobsled here, they want speed. I'm going to send some of my speed film to the Olympic Training Center. So I send it to a driver. He looks at it. He's like, hey, man, why don't you come out here in a couple months? You can push this bobsled around, see if you like it. And I'm like, look, I'll come out, but if my agent finds a football team, I'm out of here. Like, I'm a football guy. Yeah. And Corey, crazy story, buddy. 2 days before Olympic trials, this guy calls me and says, one of my guys has showed up overweight. Do you want to come up now and compete in the U.S. 4-man team trials? I'm like, dude, I've never pushed a bobsled in my life. I live in Texas. We don't have any snow. He's like, Johnny, all you have to do is get inside the sled. Dude, I said, okay. So a true story. I flew into the Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid, New York, the night before team trials. First time ever on ice was at team trials, and we took third place. No way. Unreal, man. So that started this 4-year journey of, hey, there's a chance that I could go to the Winter Olympics and become a U.S. Olympian. And so what did I do? It just rekindled that fire. Yeah. It took the fire that was my football dream and moved it over here. Yeah. But now I got to learn a whole new skill set. Right? And so that springboarded my Olympic career. Yeah. That one phone call after sending some film and saying yes to something that, I knew I had the physical capability. Yeah. I had no technical capability. I slipped getting in the sled. I spiked my teammate in the back. It was a bad load, okay? Bad load. But, man, I could dream again. Yeah. And that got me fired up.
I love that, because how crazy is that? Where you get an opportunity? I'm like, what's the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
A lot of times,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
My guy's overweight. Somebody didn't show up the way they were supposed to.
Crazy.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. And so it's his worst nightmare, right? He's got kicked off the team for laziness, if you will.
Lazy.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I was ready for an unexpected opportunity. I had no idea when it was going to come. I certainly didn't know when it was going to show up, but I was ready. And when it showed up on my doorstep, I was ready. And so as I go out and speak, and I know we'll talk through this, but as I speak to groups all across the country, corporate groups, nonprofits, different organizations, it's this ability to understand, are you open to finding unexpected ways to serve the people in your life? So I've essentially taken what I learned in sport, and how do we implement that into the marketplace? And that's what these winners are doing in sport and business, is they're finding unexpected ways, just like I did with bobsled, to serve the people they do life with.
Okay. So obviously that comes in somehow in the speaking, right? How did it start though?
So it started in the NFL.
Okay.
Because I when you get cut, I didn't know if my agent was going to call me and say, hey, Johnny, we got to get you to the Chiefs. You got to run a 40-yard dash. And so I couldn't work traditional hours. And so I had to find a way to generate income while I'm still, trying to stay in NFL shape. And so I saw an opportunity that, hey, there are organizations that want to know what professional athletes do. Can you help us out? And so here's the problem, though, Corey. Until I made the Olympic team, I'm a washed up, quote unquote, NFL failure that never really made it. That doesn't sell well to event planners, right? They need a little bit of more street cred. Yeah. And so I would say So I would say I started at 22 when I got cut because I needed to find a way, and I did. I was doing speaking engagements, not consistently. Yeah. But it really wasn't until I got back from the Olympics that I have enough marketing steam to jump into this full time. So I would always do it in the off season of bobsled. I'd do it in between stints on whatever football team I was on. But when I got back from the Olympics, I was able to get into it full time. And so, although I'm 40, so you could say I've been speaking for 18 years. Truly, I've been a full-time professional speaker for over a decade. When I got back from the Olympics in 2014, it's now as we're recording, it's 2024. It's been 10 years of solid work on the speaker circuit, and I love it. That's awesome. I absolutely love it.
See, it's interesting. We get a lot of parallels, man. I've never considered myself, like, at least before getting speaking engagements, that like, and I do plenty of them. I'm not doing it like you are. You do one thing I noticed out the gate from you. We did one event together on a Zoom real estate group thing, and one thing I noticed right away is like, man, this guy is polished.
Thank you.
He's put together well, and if it's one thing that I preach to my team, and I'm speaking this at an event tomorrow for this big Medicare agency kickoff before they go into this open enrollment period, is knowing your script, knowing your business, knowing your stuff, and articulating it to perfection. And if you have practiced it 1,000 times, and I'm going to do this, I was talking with Chris, our marketing gal, just before you came in, was I'm going to draw a play up on the board and show them how to draw a play on the board. It drew up for my team, this is just a couple of weeks ago, was why would I need that after 13 years of not being in the NFL? This serves me no purpose right now, basically, other than to exhibit that I can write up all these fronts, all these offenses, all these movements, all these plays, all these things, because I've written it down 1,000 times.
That's right.
And so because I had practiced my business so many times, I had down to a perfection that I could communicate that effectively and convey confidence across the table.
That's right.
And so this is what I love about that, is because you've taken that transition into your craft.
Yes.
And people understand you got to practice that.
That's right.
And I'm like, if you don't practice it, how are you going to bring that confidence to the table in game day?
That's right.
Right? And that's a huge thing that people don't understand.
That's right.
And tell me this. So before we got on, and I think this goes into what we were talking about before, about the bar being so low. Share about that. We were talking about this coming out.
We were, and I think it's a good analogy, because when I turned pro or entered into professional athletics, whether it was through football or becoming a U.S. Olympian, Corey, it is so competitive that if you don't produce at a high level consistently, there's no onboarding program. You get cut. You lose your job. You're out. You're out. When I transitioned into business, what I realized, and so that's all I knew until sports. When I got into business, what I started to realize is, my gosh, this bar is low. There are men and women in business who are complacent, who are lazy, and just doing enough to get by. Now, I don't know their personal situations, but for me and my DNA, that doesn't fly. I no. And so as an entrepreneur, it kind of got me excited, because now I have an incredible competitive advantage by just showing up, right? Being ready to do the work. It reminds me of, I'm sure everybody who played sports had a coach that said this, hey, what are you doing when I'm not here? Or if I'm not in the weight room and not looking, and it says 3 sets of 10 on the leg press machine, are you doing 3 sets of 10 to your capability, or are you doing 2 sets of 8 because I'm not here? It's the same thing in business. Same thing. And so I just apply what I did in sport on the speaker circuit, or as I own an insurance agent, whatever I'm in business, I take that same approach. We're going to do the work, and we're going to reap the rewards later. We're going to do the work. We're going to reap the reward later. And here's what's interesting now that I'm older, 40 years old. I can look back now. See, I couldn't do this then. Yeah. Now I can look back and say, you know what? That formula actually works. Why? Because I have a little bit of time on my side now. Yeah. Not a lot. I'm in a good sweet spot right now. Yeah. But I can look back 10 years ago and say, wait a second. Now I can look and see this time where I couldn't when I was younger.
Yeah. Gosh, I see that. And what I love we were talking about this a little bit before, is the guys that I guess, and this just maybe my perception, but the guys that I see that are doing something post football or post athletic career of some sort are the ones that usually are like mid or undrafted guys, and they weren't high draft. Now I'm not saying that there aren't guys, high draft guys that are doing stuff, but like the undrafted guys were a lot of times we had to scrap, right? We were lower level,
Right.
bottom of the roster,
Yeah.
gonna make it.
Yes.
And you always kind of had the threat of being cut.
Yeah, that's right.
And so like a little bit of that anxiety carries in a healthy way
Right.
to your business, where it's like, look, the same thing happens.
Yeah.
Client can drop you anytime they want,
Yeah.
or the deal might fall through at the last second.
Yeah.
So you got to, there has to be, I think, this healthy level of fear to get across the finish line.
Absolutely. There's Alex Hermosi. I don't know if you know who that guy is. He's built some incredible businesses. He shared something that it made a lot of sense. I call them ultra performers. These are men and women who find a way to get the job done with the current resources available. I mean, they're top-notch people, and they have this. It's like there's a couple things going on at the same time. There's that fear of, hey, somebody's working harder than you, even though you're working your tail off, but you know not to get complacent because there's that fear there of somebody's going to come take your job. But then there's this kind of forward thinking of, I'm having a lot of success. This is great. We need to celebrate it. But wow, I wonder if I can take it to a next level, right? And so it's this healthy, and it's something that has to be balanced, because there's this healthy level of fear that's not paralyzing or cripples you, but you are well aware that somebody can come take your spot. But at the same time, you understand that you're having success and the marketplace has been rewarding you, or sports been rewarding you, whatever avenue we're talking about. But man, can I go another level, right? And so I think that combined is a healthy diagnostic, at least for me in business, is I'm managing that at all times, that tension.
I think that's really good. Okay, I think we see a big theme there, and this is a big belief of mine, is like the value you bring to the table, which can be viewed in a lot of different ways from people, but the value you bring, your income often is a byproduct of that, right? And so you have bargaining at the table, you have the ability to charge higher prices, whatever that may be in the service, depending on the value that brings, solving a huge problem, saving time, money, whatever the case might be, right?
Yeah.
So if you were looking back 10 years ago, knowing what you know today, 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself? So you're 40 now, 30-year-old JQ.
Yeah.
Johnny Q, right?
Yeah.
What would you tell yourself 10 years ago that you were like, hey, come on, guy, that you need to do this? What would that thing be if he needed to hear that?
Knowing what I know now, Corey, I know we want to talk about solving people's problems, right? If you can solve somebody's problems, you can charge a premium. Yeah. What I wish I would have done sooner is not be a problem solver, is actually be a problem finder. I want to go find the people that are having the problems because I know I can solve them. And so I think this healthy thing of, solve the problem, what's the value proposition? I get that, and you need to have that. Go be a problem finder. Who's having the problem? So what does that mean? It means you need to pick up the phone. It means you need to set the appointment. Well, I'm using social media. Use social media. I don't care. Well, we need an email drip. Use an email drip campaign. I don't care. Pick the phone up. Go be a problem finder. I wish I would have done that sooner.
That's good. That's really good.
I took it from somebody else, and I liked it. When I heard it, I'm like, I'm using that. And
that's true. We get into meetings. We're asking questions, finding problems.
Right.
And you can't find them. What are you doing there?
Be a problem finder. And you know what that is, Corey? At the end of the day, that's an action step. Yeah. You have to go find a problem. We're not sitting back waiting for the phone to ring. When I get up in the morning, I'm going to go find a problem. I'm going to solve that problem, but I'm going to go find it. Yeah. Right? I've got this, I use a sit-stand desk. I'm always standing. And I've got my little, in this day and age, I've got my little camera right in front because I'm sending out video emails and doing Zoom calls and whatever. But right above my camera, kind of on my wall, so as you look kind of past my camera, I've got a little sign there. I printed out Word doc, 72 font. It's not fancy, but it's big, so I can't miss it. And it says, have a bias towards action. Because there's times through the day I get lost. I get pulled in so many directions. Maybe I had a phone call go south. Maybe, I got a sick kid. I mean, I get confused. When I look at that sign, have a bias towards action, what does that mean? Take an action step. I'm gonna look at my CRM. I'm gonna call this next prospect. And we do that over time. See, what happens is, Corey, people can understand that. Yeah, okay, yes, you're right. I need to take an action step. You're right, I need to go out, I need to take the initiative. People get down with that. Here's the game changer, Corey. It's that times time. It's done over time.
Right.
Okay, I want you to come in early, I want you to work hard while you're here. Will you do that for 52 consecutive weeks?
Right.
To skyrocket your business?
Yeah.
Not just for 2.
Yeah.
And so that's been the game changer. So for a high effort guy like me, who might not have all the quote unquote talent, I can get down with that.
Yeah.
I can get down with bringing maximum effort every day.
Well, that's where I think the bar is so low.
Yeah.
Everybody can do it for a day, a week.
You got money in the account, sun's out, you and your spouse aren't fighting, kids are healthy.
Yeah.
Come on, I can make outbound calls too.
Yeah. This is why we want to know how 50 years of marriage works.
Exactly. That's the wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because I'm committed to this thing. Are you?
Are you?
Right.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes I heard from a guy by the name of Dale Partridge. It's called, "Success at work without success at home isn't success at all." And that hit me because, look, I'm a goal setter. I love going after something. Business is my new sports market. I mean, I love it. I mean, business, it fires me up. But if I go home to a train wreck, Corey, I'm not winning. Yeah. Right? It doesn't matter what my revenue, I'm not winning. And so one of my short-term goals that I think through is, and when I say short-term, I mean my daily actions. Am I taking these daily actions to have that long-term marriage? Because my wife and I, we just celebrated 10 years of marriage. I'm thinking down to the 30-year mark. When Johnny Quinn comes home Amanda and I have been married for 30 years, and I hit that little garage door opener, and that garage goes up, do I want Amanda going, ugh, Johnny's home? Yeah. Or do I want her going, oh, Johnny's home, right? So how do I reach that end goal? It's my daily actions. And look, not perfect at all. A lot of flaws here. But I am consistent. And I think that's maybe been a differentiator in sport and business. I'm consistent in doing the high-level actions over and over and over. You might even call it boring, right? But I've had success, and that's where I'm kind of planting my flag.
Well, look, okay, we got to close up, but that's why I appreciate you. I see, man, the videos that you and Amanda share once in a while. I see a smiling wife. Yeah. I see smiling kids. I'm like, that's an indicator of a man coming home to the right place, right? One of my friends, Coach Hines, he said, "Don't lose your wedding ring for a championship ring."
Oh, that's a good line.
Yeah, that's and I was just like, man, for guys like us who are so motivated to not just succeed and do well, right? But it's to be noticed for your work, right? To be respected for your work, and to leave a stamp in this world. That's the stamp. Yeah. Right? That's the stamp is home. And so I just really appreciate that about you, man. I'm so thankful for you coming on. And last bit, I want people to check you out. Johnny Quinn USA.
JohnnyQuinnUSA.com and Johnny Quinn USA on all social media. I'm pretty active on social media. And so, if you're watching this and you're and you bring in outside speakers, somebody that can share some light from a different perspective, I'd like to humbly say I'm your guy. And so I've got some great speaker assets on my website, JohnnyQuinnUSA.com, and would love to come be your next speaker.
Heck yeah. Go do it. Johnny, thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right.